Hello everyone. I'm happy to welcome you here in Russia, and thank you for joining. Join our YouTube channel where you can enjoy wonderful online tours from various parts of the world. And today we're in Russia, in the ancient town of Kolomna. It's located in the Moscow region, and it's about just 100 kilometers from Moscow. So you can take a car and drive here by car, or you can take a train and drive here by train. It's just about 2 hours drive. A few words about myself. My name is Katya, and today we are strolling along the ancient walls, uh, streets, and the towers of Kolomna Kremlin. We'll enjoy the views on the old churches, beautiful towers, and I'll try to tell you all the secrets and the legends of the place I know. So let's begin. And I should tell you that during our tour, we've got a quiz. I'll ask you 5 questions, and you have to choose the correct answer and type it in the comments. So an hour later, the stream will be finished. A winner will be chosen randomly, and his nickname will be written in the comments. And if you were lucky, so please leave your email or your contact details. So please be very attentive, follow me, join me, and let's begin our excursion. I'm changing the view on the camera. Okay, so now we are looking at the beautiful street. It's the main street of Kolomna Kremlin. It's called Lazhechnikov Street. And who was this guy, Lazhechnikov? He was a famous Russian writer, and he got very famous in the 19th century for writing historical novels. He was born in Kolomna, and actually we've got a house where he lives. You can see this house. It's behind that white column. There's a white house, and he was born there, and he lived there with his father, but unfortunately his father lost his fortune and left no money for the family. But Lazhechnikov, Ivan Lazhechnikov, his name was, he got very famous, and he was also acquainted with Alexander Pushkin. And please look at the beautiful church opposite Lazhechnikov's house. You can see the beautiful church. I'll come a little bit closer. There is a very tall bell tower, and this church has a very beautiful dome. Look, there is just like a cup or a bowl, and there is a cross there on this bowl. Actually, this church was built in the 19th century, and it stands on the market square. Around the church, there are lots of shops now, and they were also built in the 19th century, but today they are modern shops. And as this church was standing on the market square, people believe that all the money that were on the market square should flow in this cup, and in this way enrich the church and the city itself. But actually, we know that in the Orthodox religion, the cup or the bowl is the symbol of Eucharist, first of all. So now let's continue our walk and enjoy the view on the ancient walls. So Kolomna Kremlin was built in the 16th century, and it's one of the biggest defensive citadels You can see the wall here. That's very big, and it comprises the territory of 24 hectares. So if we compare Kolomna Kremlin and Moscow Kremlin, so in Moscow, the territory of the Kremlin is 27 hectares, and in Kolomna is 24 hectares. So you may imagine that it's almost just the territory is like the same as in Moscow. So this is a big wall you can see here. So this is a part of the Kremlin itself. Actually, the Kremlin comprises 17 towers and 2 kilometers of walls. But today we've got only 2 parts of the walls and 7 towers. So the reason why we can't see the whole Kremlin is that 200 years later, when the Kremlin was not necessary, it has lost its defensive function. So people started to take the bricks from the walls and the towers, and finally they ruined the citadel. And now we've got just 2 parts of the walls that were reconstructed. All the upper parts, you can see it here, it's all reconstructed. And also we can see there one of the towers. Let's come closer to this tower. And opposite the wall, you can see a small park. There are lots of small columns there, and the columns have got small lamps in them, and there are lamps on the ground. So in the evening, they're supposed to shine. But now it's closed because we've got quarantine measures as well. So let's come closer to the tower. This tower has got the name of Yemskaya Tower. Yemshik is a coachman in Russian, and Kolomna stands on the crossroad of many, many directions. So you can travel from here to different big cities of Russia, like Moscow and Ryazan and Kashira and Nizhny Novgorod, Vladimir. So the work of coachman was very, very important. So what did they do? They took passengers and ride them on horses and special vehicles. They could take up to 6 people and rode them to different places. To get to Moscow, it took about 2 days. So as I told you, now we ride to Moscow. The ride to Moscow takes about 2 hours, and in the past centuries, it took 2 days. So look at this tower, very beautiful. And actually, there is, ironically, we've got a bus station here. So under this tower, where coachmen were standing here in the past centuries, now we have got the bus station, and the buses are driving people to the nearest villages from Kolomna. Now let's go around the tower, and we'll get to the territory of the Kremlin itself. So now we are outside the Kremlin, and now let's go inside the Kremlin. So I may ask you the first question of our quiz. Be very attentive. So can you tell me, please? So you've got the chance to win $100. By the way, I didn't tell you, I'm sorry. So, so the winner, who will be chosen randomly, is getting $100. That's the prize. So my first question is, who was Ivan Lazhechnikov? Who was he? Was he a merchant? Was he a clerk? Was he Fitzgerald? Or was he a writer of historical novels? So now we are standing in the inside part of the Kremlin. Here, beautiful churches there, so we can come to them a little bit later. And let's enjoy view of the inner parts of the wall. So let's come closer. We'll see the pictures. They depict the most important events in the history of Kolomna. Look, so on this very picture, there is this brave man in a red coat on a horse. It's the Grand Prince Dmitry Donskoy, and he is getting the blessing from Kolomna Archbishop. And behind, you can see the soldiers, the warriors. And actually, this is happening in Kolomna, on the bank of Oka River. And here, the Grand Prince Dmitry, he is collecting his troops, Russian troops, united Russian troops in Kolomna. And from here, he went to the main battle, to the battle on the Kulikov field. This battle with the Tatars, you know that the main enemies of the Russia, of the old Russia, were the Tatar Mongolians, and they invaded the country lots of times. And this battle on the Kulikov field was very important because Dmitry Donskoy was the winner in this battle, and the battle itself took place not far from the River Don, and that's why he got the name. His nickname is Donskoy, Dmitry Donskoy, from the River Don. So in this battle, the Tatars would see the power of the united forces, or the united Russian forces. Let's come to the next picture. So this picture is depicting the wooden Kremlin. So before, in the 16th century, Kremlin was built in brick, as we see now. It was built from wood, and it was constructed, the wooden Kremlin was constructed in the 12th century. And at the time, Kolomna was just a small fortress of 2 hectares, and it belonged to the nearest town, Ryazan. But in the 14th century, Moscow princes, they conquered Kolomna, and they captured the town and joined it to Moscow land. So from the 14th century, Moscow belongs to Kolomna belongs to the Moscow region, to Moscow. Okay, so on this picture, you can see the siege of Kolomna Kremlin by the Tatar Mongolian warriors. It happened in 1238, and in this battle, it's a historical event, historical fact, and in this battle was killed the son of the Tatar Mongolian leader, Genghis Khan. His son's name was Khan, and he was killed in this very battle. And it was very unusual because such persons, they were especially protected. But in this battle next to Kolomna, it happened. He was killed. And the legend tells us that the Tatars revenged very cruelly. They burned 40 beautiful girls from Kolomna together with the dead body of Khan. But we do hope that that's just a beautiful legend. So let's go along the street. You can see along the wall, you can see the inner part of the wall here. And maybe you think why such big wall was constructed in Kolomna. The height of the wall is about 17 meters. It's about 17 meters high, and it's about 5 meters wide. So it's very strong. So it was very important to construct such defensive citadels because the Tatars always wanted to capture Moscow, and Kolomna was on the shortest way to Moscow. So the Tatars had their empire, which was called Golden Horde, and this Golden Horde, they produced constant invasions on the Russian land. And in the 30th century, one of these invasions ended with the Tatar yoke, the so-called Tatar yoke. It was so according to after this attack, after the invasion, the Russian lands were captured by the Tatars, and the Russian princes, they had to pay a certain amount of money every year to the Golden Horde, where the Tatars lived. So it was the empire. So let's go. So this Tatar yoke continued for about 300 years, and we can understand that it stopped, of course, it stopped a lot of economical and political and cultural development of the Russian land. Now we have come back to Vazhechenko Street. It's a very beautiful street. It's the main street in the Kremlin. And most of the cafes and museums are located here. But now they are closed, unfortunately. We do hope at the end of the month everything will be opened. So, and now we are going to visit the beautiful convent. So you can see the cathedral, this cathedral. And while we are coming, I'll ask you the second question. When, in which century, Kolomna Kremlin was constructed? I mean the brick Kolomna Kremlin was constructed. In which century? In the 50th century, 40th century, 30th century, or 60th century? Okay, now let's look at one of the museums. It's Gramophone Museum in Kolomna. Before the Second World War, gramophones were produced in a big number and they were very popular. So now we've got a museum. So I remind you once again that we have got a quiz and you can win $100 if you answer my questions. So you can write your questions, your answers in the comments. And the second question is, when was the brick Kolomna Kremlin constructed? In which century? In the 40th, 30th, 50th, or 60th century? So this is the second question. Please write your correct answers and you get the chance to win $100. And now we have come to the oldest building in this convent. The convent is called Brusinsky Convent. Brus in Russian is wood, and it was all made from wood except for this beautiful church. It has a very beautiful shape, top, tent-shaped top. So that's very beautiful. And it was constructed in 1552 by the Tsar Ivan the Terrible. So he got this nickname, the Terrible, because he was very cruel and he enjoyed torturing people, and he killed many of the people around him whom he suspected to be his enemies. But what did he do in Kolomna? As well as Dmitry Donskoy, but 100 years later, he selected his troops, and here from Kolomna, he started to Kazan. He captured the city of Kazan, joined it to Moscow, and on his way back, he, in memory of this victory, he ordered to construct this beautiful church. The church has got the name of the Assumption of Our Lady Church. Assumption of Our Lady Church. So this very beautiful church. And you can see the red church joining it. This one was built a little bit later, and it's got 2 stories. And on the second floor live 5 sisters of the convent and their mother superior. But before the revolution, there lived more than 200 sisters. Imagine. So where they live, they've got special buildings. Yeah, let's go and see these buildings where they live. You can see one of these buildings. It's in front of us, a 2-story building. And actually, here on the territory of the convent, we got 3 buildings where sisters live. Let's look. Okay, so this is the first building. Have a look. Now it's closed. It's not working here. Maybe in the future we'll have a museum inside. I don't know. This is the second building. Look here. It's got also 2 floors, and it's a picture gallery today. And one more building. Let's see. So this red brick building, you can see it behind the church entrance. Yes. So this is the entrance to the Assumption of Our Lady Church. So this is the entrance here. And behind it, you can see the third building where this was lived in the 19th century. But the most important building here was constructed in the 19th century as well. Let's look at it. It's a beautiful Cathedral of Reason, the Holy Christ. Let's have a better look. So look. So we can see it very well here. And it's got a mixture of various architectural styles. Here we've got the Baroque style, Gothic style, Russian style, and all together it's very, very beautiful. But in the Soviet times, it suffered a lot, and all the top part with the crosses and with these small towers, it was all ruined. And this cathedral was used as a bomb shelter in the Second World War, and it was also used as a warehouse. So all the inner interior was destroyed completely. And today we've got the outer appearance. Yes, the outer look is rebuilt, but the inner interior is not reconstructed yet, so we cannot enter this beautiful cathedral. And also one building here, one more building on the territory of the convent. Let's see. It's the Great Tower. Here it is. This tower is called the combined tower because it's got a different shape. So from here we can see 4 angles, and outside it's got 6 edges. We'll go outside and see the shape, and we also can see here the second part of the wall. This tower belonged to the convent, and it was used as a chapel. But in the Soviet times, when all the churches were closed and the priests were killed, in the Soviet time, here was a kerosene shop, and today it's a museum of old weapons, and there is a club, and some young men there, they produce swords. So they produce swords themselves and ancient costumes for their warriors. And they also make shows in which they reconstruct the ancient battles. So they dress in these ancient costumes of a warrior, and they use their swords and make a wonderful show, which is really worth seeing. And now let's go outside the Kremlin territory again. and we'll enjoy the beautiful view on the wall outside. So here you can also see one more tower, very big. So let's enjoy the view. So this is the part of the wall inside the Kremlin, and we are coming to the Mikhailovsky Gate, a small gate which leads outside the Kremlin. So let's go out and enjoy the view on the towers and the walls. The gates were called so Mikhailovsky because you may see in front the beautiful church of Archangel Michael. The gates got their name according to the church name. And let's see the combined tower here. Just a second. You can see it has got edges. Yes, it has got 6 edges, 6 angles. And also the loopholes, which were very important to control the distance around the tower. So let's look at the wall. Here is a moat, but the moat is empty. It had never had water. It was always dry. And also we can enjoy the beautiful view on this part of the tower. You can see at the beginning of the tower next on the wall next to the tower, the wall is has got more intensive color, it's darker, and next to the wall is lighter. It's the reconstruction. So the darker part is the reconstruction of the 19th century, and the lighter part is the reconstruction of the 20th century. And all the upper part of the wall was reconstructed. You can see the famous fish-tailed merlons. They are like in Moscow Kremlin, which tells us about which gives us an idea that our Kremlin was also constructed by Italian architects, like it was in Moscow. But we've got no documents, and we don't know who is the architect. So these fish-tailed merlons, like in Italian citadels and like in Moscow citadels, they tell us about this Italian version. But actually, in our Kremlin, the merlons, they are just decoration. They are not actual merlons. It's just a pattern, because on the top we've got a roof, and to put this roof stand still, the surface must be flat. So we haven't got actual merlons, actual fish-tails, but we've got the pattern. Okay. Also, you can see here the big count horses, these big things which keep a wall straight. So it's very, very beautiful, the view. And let's come to the horseman. While we're coming to the horseman, I'm asking you the first question. So be attentive. Now it's quiz. You can win $100. So please answer the question. What was the name of the church founded by Ivan the Terrible? What was the name of the church founded by Ivan the Terrible? What was the name of the church founded by Ivan the Terrible? Now look at the horseman. It's Dmitry Donskoy. It was built here in 2007. And here you can see the pictures telling us about the history of his Kulikov battle. Here he is getting blessings before the battle from the famous Russian saint Sergei Radonежский, and Sergei predicted his victory. And let's go around. And here's the picture of the battle itself. So the battle lasted for 3 hours, and it was very cruel. And when the Tatars started to win, new Russian forces attacked them in the back. The Tatars got very scared, and they ran away. So that's the most important victory in Russian history was produced. So look at Dmitry Donskoy. He is on a horse here, and he is ready to win the enemy. So the main deed of his life was to collect lands about Moscow, around Moscow, because before Russian lands were just separate towns, and their rulers, princes, they were often in quarrel. And he did the most important thing. He tried to collect together them around Moscow, so that we could have a big and strong country, but not just lots of separate countries. And the big and strong country can fight the Tatar yoke. Actually, only 100 years after the political battle, the Tatar yoke was defeated. But Dmitry Donskoy put the beginning to this important thing of collecting Russian lands around Moscow to get rid of the Tatar yoke. Okay, now let's a good look at the Michael Archangel Cathedral. The wooden church here stood in the 14th century, and this look it has got from the 19th century. And in the Soviet time, it was a prison, and then it was a historical museum. And only in 2008, it was returned to the believers. And opposite the church, there is a prison, which is working since the 19th century, but it's very, very far. Okay, now let's have a better look at the symbol of Kolomna Kremlin. This tower is called Marina Tower. It's got 19 edges, and it looks round, and it's got 8 floors. And this tower is called Marinkina from the name of the Polish princess Marina Mnishek. Marina came to Russia in the 16th century, and it was not a lucky time. This time is called the time of troubles or the dark times, because actually the Moscow throne had no inheritor. The last inheritor, a small boy of 8 years old, was killed, and the power was in hands of one of the boyars. His name was Boris Godunov, and some said that it was him who killed the last inheritor, the son of Ivan the Terrible. And 10 years after this murder or his death, appeared a person, a young man, himself to be miraculously saved Dmitry. And people very easily believed him. So Marina came from Poland, so he took the Moscow throne, and he was called false Dmitry the First. False because he was not a real Dmitry, he was just a deceiver. So Marina married him and came to Russia. She was only 16, and then 9 days after the marriage, they happened a revolt, and this false Dmitry the First was killed. And Marina went to Poland back, but on her way to Poland, she was captured by some Polish people who found false Dmitry the Second, and they wanted her to prove that it's her husband. She agreed because she wanted to be the queen, and she proved him to be her husband, and she lived for some time with him, and she also had a baby. So you can enjoy the tower here. But there was a lot of fighting, and finally, Dmitry II was killed as well. Marina, she lived for some time in Kolomna. Then she robbed the town and escaped. And she was captured, of course. Her little son was killed. He was hanged in Moscow. And what happened to Marina, we don't know. And according to the legend, she was put in this very tower, and she was here till the rest of her days and died here. And of course, the Russians didn't like Marina. They called her a witch. And if she was a witch, she could turn into a crow and flew out of the tower. But when the tower was sprinkled with the holy water, she could return back. And now we can see probably Marina is flying here as a crow in the Moscow Kremlin. Maybe she's looking for her treasures, which she robbed in Kolomna. So this is a beautiful legend. And now we can see the modern building. It's the City Center, built here in 2006. And all the championships of Europe and world championships on speed skating are held here in Kolomna. Here is the scheme of Kolomna. You can see all the towers here, and you can see Marinkina Tower. Let's look where is it. So we started our excursion here at Yemskaya Tower, yes, and now we are here at this tower, Marinkina Tower. Now we've got only two parts of the walls. You can see they are a little bit of pink color. So, and all these walls are existing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Not walls, towers. I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, and 7. 7 towers and 2 parts of the walls. And this way the citadel looked before it was demolished. Okay, now let's come to the main square. So we're coming to the main Kremlin Square. It's very beautiful. And I should ask you question number 4. Yes, that's number 4. So be very attentive. We've got a quiz where you can win $100 if you answer my questions correct. And you can write your answers in the comments. And in our later, after the stream, you can see the name of the winner there. And if you're a winner, you please leave your email or your details. So the question is, where was Marina Mnishek from? Was she from Germany? Was she from Italy? Was she from Spain? Or was she from Poland? Where was Marina Mnishek from? Now let's come to the square. That's the most beautiful and the ancient square in Kolomna. Look, we are back to the Lazheshnikov Street, And this red building is the museum, or is the historical museum, which came in this house from the Archangel Michael Cathedral in 2008. By the way, I should tell you that Kremlin is not just that museum territory. People are living here, and so they've got houses. You can see the houses. And we're coming to the Cathedral Square. On this square, we've got one more convent. So this is one more convent. You can see the towers. But this convent is very, very big. If in Rusinsky convent there live 5 sisters, and this convent here live 60 sisters. So it's very big, and it's very famous, I should tell you. It was one of the first opened in Russia in 1989. So it's about 30 years old. But firstly on this territory lived Kolomna archbishops. So Kolomna had their own archbishops, and they lived on the territory of this convent. Yes, you can see here the walls, the towers, the churches. They lived for 450 years on this territory. After that, there was a male monastery, and after the Soviet time, it was reborn as a convent for sisters. So let's have a look at this beautiful square. It's very, very, very beautiful. And I should tell you that lots of films were casted here on this very square, but not just on the square. I think in the old part of Kolomna, lots of the films are casted each year, almost constantly, because we've got 25 churches and 4 monasteries. Imagine a small town, but 25 churches and 4 monasteries. Why so many? This was a trading town, and the merchants, rich merchants, tradesmen, they built churches where they prayed for their sins. Okay, so now let's look at the main cathedral here. It's the Assumption of Our Lady Cathedral, which was built by Dmitry Donskoy in memory of his victory in Kulikov battle. And it was the main cathedral for Kolomna archbishops, and most of the archbishops are buried under this cathedral. Also, we can see here a beautiful bell tower. It has also tent shape on the top. And there is a monument of Cyril and Methodius, also put here in 2007. So Cyril and Methodius are famous for producing the first Slavonic alphabet, first Russian alphabet. So they are considered to be the first people who invented Russian writing. So there is the monument for them. Here is a school. It was a religious school before revolution, but now it's just a usual school. You can see here. And behind the monument, there is a river. There is a Moskva river. There is a Moskva river. But there's not a very good view here, but still. And a small Kolomna river is flowing into the Moskva river. And Moskva river is flowing, and it flows into Oka river. So in Kolomna we have got 3 rivers. 3 rivers: Kolomenka, Moskva, and Oka river. So you can enjoy here the view of the churches, of the convent, the bell tower. So this is the intercession church, looks like a tower itself in the Gothic style. Okay, now let's come closer to the cathedral. Let's come to the cathedral. And you will enjoy the beautifully decorated entrance. So it's very nice. But actually the cathedral has got 3 entrances, on the left, on the right, and here the main entrance. On the right part, the entrance led to the Archbishop's residence. Here is the main entrance. And on the left part, there is one more entrance. Let's have a look at it. And it led to the residence of Dmitry Donskoy. So imagine Dmitry had not only collected his troops here in Kolomna, but he also had a residence here. So look, this is the beautifully decorated entrance. So it's very, very beautiful. And here is the church, Resurrection Church, which had a bell tower, but this tower was demolished in the Soviet period. And before this church was constructed in stone, here was a wooden church in the 14th century, and Dmitry married his wife Evdokia here in Kolomna in this wooden church. So why it was necessary to marry in Kolomna? Why not in Moscow? We don't know for sure, but actually we think that those are all the fires and the plague. Moscow was devastated by fires and plague, and maybe that was the reason why they decided to marry in Kolomna. So one more church here. I do hope you're not tired of the churches, numerous churches, but still, let's come to the church. We're coming to the final point of our excursion. So look at this beautiful church. It also had a bell tower, but in the Soviet time, the bell tower was demolished as well. And this is the first church which was built from brick in Kolomna Kremlin. So here you can enjoy the view on the convent. This is the house actually for the Mother Superior. So this is the building her. And it's beautiful houses where people live. Okay. So now you can see this church. It's called the Church of Saint Nicholas, and it was constructed in the 6th century. And what is interesting, the services here began at 5 o'clock in the morning, which was 1 hour earlier than in other churches. Why? Because the church was built on the money of Kolomna merchants, and these merchants had to open their shops at 6 o'clock in the morning, and that was comfortable for them to pray at 5 o'clock and then go and open their shops. So that was the reason. So this part of the church, the square part, is the oldest part. So this is the 16th century, and the refinery part was constructed a little bit later in the 18th century. Here we can see the houses where people live. And I should ask you the final question, question number 5. So you remember that we have got a quiz where you can win $100 if you are very attentive and you answer my questions. So get
Get ready. And question number 5 is how many rivers you can see in Kolomna? How many rivers? You can see in 1 river, 2 rivers, 3 no rivers. So okay, so you can see here one more on the towers. So that's the tower, Alexeyevskaya Tower. That's it. It's very big and it looks like Yemskaya Tower. And this is the Pyatnitsky gates here. So the final point of our excursion. And one more church. So this is the Church of Raising the Holy Christ. And according to the legend, in the 30th century, women and children last church break so the enemy couldn't take the church. Thus, the people were, so to say, saved. Okay, let's come to the final point of our excursion. This is the beautiful Pyatnitsky gates. This tower is very high. It's about 28 meters high and 14 meters wide. It's very, very big. And here you can see the icon of Our Lady of Dawn. So according to the legend, this icon was taken by Dmitry Donskoy to the Kulikov battle. Then he kept it in Kolomna, but Ivan the Terrible took this icon from Kolomna and left copies. Now we've got a modern copy here on the tower. And the original icon now is kept in the theoretical gallery. So look at this beautiful tower. It has got an arch at the top, and there was a bell. This bell was ringing when an enemy was seen, and all the people from the territory behind the Kremlin, they all gathered here, and the gates were closed. Let's look in this beautiful tower. So it's really very, very big. And inside this tower there was an iron grid which was closing in case if the enemy gets inside the gate. And according to the legend, Marina Mnishek took this grid, and she closed other excursions, online tours here about Prague and about different other countries. You can watch them tomorrow. And I repeat the questions. So the first questions of our quiz, where you can win $100, was who was Ivan Lazhechnikov? The second was when Kolomna brick Kremlin was built, in which century? Next question was the name of the church founded by Ivan the Terrible. Question number 4 was where was Marina Mnishek from which country? And the last question was how many rivers you can see in Kolomna. One river, two rivers, three rivers, or no rivers at all. So the correct answers are, on the first question, Ivan Lazheshnikov was a writer of historical novels. Kolomna Kremlin was built in the 16th century. The church founded by Ivan the Terrible is called the Assumption of Our Lady Church. Marina Mnishek was from Poland. And you can see 3 rivers in Kolomna. So thank you for your kind attention. I switch on the camera. Okay. I wish you good luck. So if you've got correct answers, an hour later, you will see a winner behind the video, this video. And if it's you, you please leave your contact details, email, or telephone number. I'm trying to switch the camera. Come on.